Okay, so there's a meme on the internet right now. It relates to the Hispanic culture, and it's basically a GIF of this little boy on one of those like cooking shows, and he's crying. He's sitting at the pan crying, and he's flipping a tortilla or something with tongs. And so the meme reads, when you how you flip a tortilla after you burned yourself flipping it with your hands, something along those lines. So the other day I showed this to my mom because I thought it was hilarious. So I showed it to her, I start cracking up, and what does she do? She lectures me, pues por pendeja, which roughly translates to, well, for being an idiot, for not paying attention to getting your hand too close to the flame. So my quote, the lecture is an occasion when you numb one end to benefit the other. So I can relate this to my home life, if I'm getting lectured by my parents, at school, and even at work. So many times my dad is the lecturer in my family. And so a lot of times he will talk to my sisters and I and just give us the life lessons. And most of the time, sometimes it'll be because of an issue we're having currently in our lives. So the waterworks start going. But usually it's not a very pleasurable occasion, so we're numbing ourselves at that moment in time. But in the end, it's going to benefit us because we're going to learn from his mistakes and from his parents' mistakes. So we're getting these life lessons early on so that we don't make the same mistakes that they did. This is also prevalent in school. If you're sitting through a lecture class and you're falling asleep and you don't want to be there and you're not paying attention, you're numbing yourself again through the pain of having to go to school, having to be here when you're super tired. But in the end, it's going to benefit you because you're gaining all this knowledge that you're going to use later on in your life and in your work life, and whatever you decide to do. And then this is also shown even in work. I was recently told a story. As many of you may know, I work at Tilly's, and some of my coworkers, they were talking about, before I was hired, there was this huge blow up between a lot of the managers, and then people got dragged in. So everybody was lectured, whether it was, they were lectured about gossiping about the other workers. So whether it was them gossiping or not, they had to sit through a numbing lecture of what they were doing wrong, whether they were actually doing it or not. But in the end, it was going to teach them that talking bad behind somebody's back is not going to solve any problems. And so it benefited them in the long run because they learned how to work better with their coworkers. So with that, a lecture is going to numb you, but it's going to end up benefiting you in the long run, whether it's at home, at school, or at work. Thank you.
I know, I was like, download the copy after that. No, I was like, let me just.
All right, I like the reference to the meme as an attention device. That's fine. The tie into the topic was pretty solid there. You've got a good structure that you preview for us, so that's fine. The content, sometimes the examples, they're fine. They fit into the different categories. I don't know that they always explain it as well as you want it to be explained. And a couple of times I thought that maybe you were going off on a slightly different tangent from what the original quote seemed to be suggesting. But it wasn't confusing. It was just that it felt like we're veering away from, and you have a different topic purpose at that point. Presentation issues, it's easy to hear you. There's pretty good variety in your voice. I didn't notice any hesitation. It flowed together very smoothly. Your gestures, you had lots of engaging indicators while you were speaking to us. You looked like you were engaged with your facial expressions. Your eye contact I thought was very naturalistic. You stood very confidently. I think maybe you could be a little bit more, like I said, engaged with the audience, maybe to demonstrate a little bit more intimacy by stepping forward occasionally or moving from that one spot, but you did seem confident where you were, so if the purpose was to control your anxiety, that seemed to work for the most part. All right, thank you.